I'm just going to introduce myself today. I am the speaker. If there's anybody in this room who doesn't know me, I'm Larry Jennings. And I joined this church approximately around 2000, right at the millennium. I've served this church as its treasurer. I've served this church as its president for two years. I've been a pastor ordained in 2005 and currently in the chair of the pastoral council. So we've been very active, as not only me but many of you have done also, in giving back to this wonderful place. In 1976 I began a career in funeral service, and I have worked at funeral homes since then. So I've had a lot of insight, a lot of experiences, and coming to you today, my way of speaking is a long time ago. Some of you remember the game Angel Talk that was created by a lot of people from this church. And I can remember playing that and very successful and be able to speak to the angels and get things back. When we played this game together, me and several others, it kept coming back to one thing with me. When we talked about purpose, when we talked about what we were supposed to be doing, it would always come back to me and tell me to write, and it would always come back to me and tell me to teach and to share. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to share with you some of the experiences I've had from life, some recent experiences that I've had as I began to explore this talk that I'm giving. Our prayers are powerful. So let me begin. Thank you. I can remember, going back to what I can remember as my first experiences with prayer, was going to Sunday school with my mother. My mother was my Sunday school teacher, and I've told some of you this before. But I was probably around 6 years old, and we all had to learn the Lord's Prayer together. Everybody in the class was busy and learning the words to this wonderful prayer, and when it was our time to share it, we had to go into the congregation, into the sanctuary, and our pastor was there to greet us, and we were all there to show what we have learned. I can remember as each one of the kids were called forward, and everybody gave that prayer to perfection. It was very well, until it was my turn. I came up to the podium and I looked at the crowd. I wasn't nervous. My mother always said I had a stubborn streak, and still do. I didn't recite a single line of it. I just decided that I didn't want to. I looked over at my mother and she was totally aghast. And the whole congregation was looking at me. But even at that young age, as I looked out at the crowd, I couldn't really understand what the fuss was all about. I didn't see value in that prayer the way it had been taught to me. And even at 6 years old, if I didn't see the value in something, I was stubborn and I would just decide, I'm not going to do it. At that young age of 6, I'd already had some life experiences that helped form me and where I was going. I had jumped into a long lake and had sunk to the bottom. I was drowning and was pushed to the surface by an unknown force. And when I got to the top, I was put into my brother's arms, who saved me. I can remember going to bed at night and elementals coming to me at night and having conversations with them and speaking to them. I can remember going outside in the evening as a little boy and just laying in the grass and looking upward at the stars and the moon and just wondering what was out there and what this world was all about. And I think that's where my first prayer came from, because as I looked at this beautiful world around me, I could already hear it speaking to me. I could already hear that voice within. And that's why I was formulating in myself what had value to it. Learning and reciting the Lord's Prayer didn't have the value. But being outdoors and experiencing the world and experiencing my spirituality is what has brought me to where I am today. And as I grow older, I still continue to question the value of religion as it was presented and taught to me. I was Catholic. I went through all the catechism and still embrace the Catholic Church. Don't get me wrong. I don't believe these prayers are bad. I love what they taught us, and I love what they were made to be a part of me. But I could see beyond these things through my experience. Unbeknown to me, as I was growing up, I was beginning to learn what my soul already knew. And as my soul awakened and I trusted the voice within, I began to understand more of the importance that it was having in my life and the world around me. I love how Clarissa is teaching our children here at the fellowship. Rather than just learning the words of a prayer as I was taught, she has them learning about their own spirituality. Our children spend time in meditation and learning to look within themselves to experience their connection to the Creator who is a part of each of them. The time that they spend here will continue to help them grow. And in knowing that they are loved, they will have a foundation and understanding of who they truly are. Rather than just being taught the prayers and a church's view of their religion, they are learning to understand themselves and experience that they are souls beginning an incredible journey. And in beginning this journey they're on, they have an understanding that God is a part of it and with them. They are experiencing the love that they are. Instead of flowers today, I brought back our little tree that the children created. And I thought this was the most beautiful testament that I could put up there to this. This tree is living. Everything around us is living. The floor we stand on has a voice if you listen. But if you look at this beautiful tree the children created, they each put their own inspiration into it. There's little hearts if you read them. Some of them say peace. I'm just going to glance behind me. Good news. Gentleness. Patience. All these words are important and a foundation that our children are being taught here. But it goes beyond the children, for each of us are children. And as I look at those words and I look at that tree, I myself is inspired, and it helps me to grow even further too. Now my mother will turn 90 this May, and I'm going to travel to upstate New York to celebrate with her. I'll have to remind her of that day standing in front of our church and the Lord's Prayer. I'm sure she has not forgotten. Growing up, it took me many years to fully understand myself, and I'm still learning. And many years to fully understand the relationship that I have with God, or higher power. Looking back, there were so many spiritual chances for growth. Some that I embraced, and some that simply went by unnoticed. We all have these moments where we have our greatest chance to grow. It's usually during the difficult times. It's usually the times that we're struggling. Those are the times we often miss. Embrace them into your hearts. It'll make you stronger. Recently, I've been having dreams about the power of prayers, its importance, as I began preparing for this. And that's really the reason I began this talk. That and the next story that I'm going to share with you. As many of you know, our family just went through a difficult time with our youngest grandson. He was born with medical problems which were life-threatening. Each of us in our family and friends and people that were close to us, I know this, sent him prayers. And each of us knew the power of our prayers and had an understanding of why we were saying them. But after praying one evening, I decided simply to meditate, and my thought went to him as I lit a candle. And soon I became connected to our Creator. And he told me that Nolan was making a decision. He was making a decision whether he would stay in this world or simply go back and decide to reincarnate at a different time. In my last talk here, I told you about some of this. And I told you that I had connected to Nolan before he was born. And I had learned that he had a very difficult past life, and he was unsure at that point if he were going to come back and stay in this world, or whether he would return for more healing and more learning before he came back. As I meditated, the voice within me spoke and reminded me of the power of prayer and the power of our thoughts. I was told to let my thoughts go to Nolan and remind him of how much he was loved, and to reassure him that whatever choice he made, it was his alone to make. It was his choice to make which pathway he turned on. For that pathway was what was going to be best for his soul. I was told to pray for him, and the prayers would be understood with him on a soul level. The Creator speaking to me helped me to understand that these prayers would not only help him make the decision, but also would allow him to know that he had my support, and that he had my love, and that he was cared for. Nolan is now 9 months old. My daughter sent me a picture of him yesterday as he pulled himself up on some furniture yesterday, and he's got his first black eye. He is doing wonderful. He has overcome the diversity of his health problems. He's a perfectly healthy little boy, and I can't wait to watch his lifetime unfold before him, as I know there's going to be many more pathways for him to choose on this journey that he is on. Through this experience I had with Nolan, I decided to talk today about prayers. And now I have a better understanding of the power of our prayer and its importance. Each and every one of us says prayers on a daily basis, for people, for ourselves. Earlier in today's service, we asked people to come up to our candle lighting ceremony and to say a prayer and light a candle for something that was important to them, be it a purpose, an intent for something that was going on in this world or their lives, or simply for someone who had crossed over, to remember them, or simply to send healing where it was needed. This is a powerful part of our service, and there's no way to measure how far these thoughts and prayers go to helping others in need, or in giving the healing exactly where it's needed. As the prayer is being thought, the prayer is on its way and has been answered. I've been doing all the talking today. I'm getting thirsty. When Paul Solomon channeled the 40 Bihas, he began with that first statement we've heard several times today. And I love how when we have a talk, how the synchronicity works. And all the people come together with the music, with the reading today and the 40 Bihas, and how it tied into my talk. And none of this is because we planned this. It all just comes together. It shows how we have that oneness that we share. The Bihas, which I read during the meditation, are seed thoughts used as a mantra. Paul channeled these while riding in a car from Virginia Beach to the Shenandoah Valley, where he was headed to lead a group with the fellowship, and what he called the 40 days of the wilderness, in the wilderness. It was patterned after the Master Jesus, and it was patterned after Apostle Paul, who also spent 40 days in the wilderness. And we go back to Moses, who spent 40 years in the desert. All very important milestones in our history. Some of you here today may have experienced that time with Paul. I look around the room, I know there's people that were here that were with him when he did these 40 beehives that he created while simply driving in the car from one place to another. That connection he had with Spirit was powerful. And when he gave these seed thoughts to those that were attending, he asked them to repeat them throughout the day. And that would allow that thought to become your reality. And I truly believe if you were to repeat "my prayers are powerful" to yourself, you would find this mantra giving you a better understanding of how our thoughts and prayers reach out and touch whoever you are praying for, or touching a situation that needs our love. To quote, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Also, whatever fills a person's mind will manifest in his beliefs, and therefore in his experiences. In praying, we are allowing our thoughts to speak to our Creator, and we know and understand that He is always listening to us. We must always remember that we are God's. And as we live this life on this beautiful planet, we create every experience we have. And every experience is truly a gift with our co-creator. As often as I have written down or said the words, "My prayers are with you," I'm not sure if I or you ever fully comprehend what that simple thought has triggered. For example, a couple of nights ago, I was on Facebook. On there quite a bit. I enjoyed watching all of you on there also. But when I was on there, there's a friend of ours. Actually, one of my daughter's friends. I watched her as a little girl back in New York many years ago. She now lives in Pennsylvania. And she put on Facebook that her little boy was very sick with the flu, running a very high temperature, and they were contemplating whether he needed to go to the hospital. So I prayed for them, and I responded in my Facebook. I put in the comments, "My prayers and thoughts are with you and your son." I was only one person of 43 people that night that sent their love and prayers to this little boy. The next day she posted that he was doing much better and his temperature had come down. This made me smile, and I gave thanks for all these prayers being answered. Later that night, as I meditated, I spoke the words again, "Our prayers are powerful." And from that simple mantra, I had an experience that was life-changing for me, as it gave me a better understanding of how my prayers work and how they're sent to people that I say them to. And I'm going to do my best to describe what I saw during this time. As I settled in for meditation, I closed my eyes. I could do it right now and go right back there. And I repeated to myself the mantra, "My prayers are powerful. My prayers are powerful. My prayers are powerful." And I asked for a better understanding of prayer. As my breathing slowed down, I could feel myself slipping away, and I felt connected to what I like to call the universal flow, where I'm able to interact with my spirit guides, with my angels, who are always with me. And during these times, I can distinguish a voice that speaks to me. This voice is clear and concise, and the moment I hear it, I know that I'm having a conversation with our Creator. For me, this is not a special gift that I have, but rather each and every one of you have this same gift. We only have to believe it. We only have to take some time each day to meditate and to settle in so you can have that relationship. And through that relationship, you also can enter that universal flow, which gives you a greater understanding of the oneness of all life. I continued with my meditation. I repeated to myself again, my prayers are powerful. And I found myself in the center of a circle that was constantly in motion, and I could see faces, and I could watch what I can only describe to you as ribbons of light moving in all directions. These lights were vibrant, and every color of the rainbow was included. There were colors that I don't remember seeing before. It was as if the universe had put this display on lights just for me to enjoy. And I did. They were vibrant, and they flowed with a sense of direction, as if each had a purpose, as if each had a designated place to be. Soon I began to understand what I was seeing. And to test it, I said a short prayer, asking Creator to simply watch over one of my granddaughters. And as I said the prayer, I could see a band of light leaving my body, and it traveled through the circle. And I watched my granddaughter's face appear, and I watched that light connect to her. And I knew in an instant that my prayer had been received. The light was green in color. It flowed like a ribbon on a breeze as it traveled. And this prayer went exactly where it was supposed to go in just an instant. In that moment, I watched as a ribbon of light left my granddaughter. And this ribbon of light and this energy returned to me as it acknowledged that my prayer had been received. The Creator then spoke to me and told me that the child would have no recollection of this fleeting moment, but its soul fully understood. And her thought was returned to me as a thank you. As I remained in the center of the circle, deep in meditation, I continued to watch as prayers and thoughts continued to move all around me. I could see the faces of people that I knew. I could see faces of people that I'd never seen before. I saw the shapes of people. Some of them appeared as light. Some of them appeared just as like you were looking through the mist. Bands of beautiful ribbons of light passed between them. And I knew that I was being shown how our prayers and thoughts travel throughout the universe that we all live in together. Truly, I was witnessing the oneness which we all share. Soon I found myself returning to my body with a full recollection of what I had just witnessed. I gathered my thoughts after this beautiful experience, and I could only be thankful for this beautiful gift that I had just received. Looking back and re-examining what I had just experienced has given me a new appreciation for the power of prayer and the power of our thoughts. We must understand that this is my experience. And if you were meant to meditate on this, you may see something completely different. If you do, I'd love to hear about it. Please try it. Preparing talks for me always opens the doors for me to learn. But it also gives me that opportunity that I talked about playing Angel Talk. To share what I have learned and to write these things down and to share them with each of you. Understanding that we are truly a part of the Creator, experience herself in our realm, gives me the knowledge that our prayers, our thoughts that we speak or we think of, go directly to where they're intended, because we are truly co-creating together. Next, I'd like to share with you a dream that I had and the message that came from that dream. Dreams for me, yes, I have them. We all do. But for me, dreams are something that I normally don't remember. I wake up after the dream, I'll think about it, I'll wake up later on. I usually have very little or no recollection of them at all as they quickly fade away. So when I have a dream that I remember, it makes me take notice. In this particular dream, I found myself observing what appeared to be a group of souls wandering aimlessly within a chapel. The chapel had pews and appeared to be either a small church or, with my background, possibly a funeral home chapel. I would estimate I was watching a dozen or so of these beings. They were not interacting or engaged with each other, and they were peering as if they were lost and didn't know what to do. These souls had the shape of a person, although they were transparent, and it was like looking through water. It was an amazing scene. And as I watched them, I began to feel what they were feeling. I could feel that they were lost. So they simply circled their space without understanding and without purpose. Suddenly, one of them stopped and looked at me. And I could clearly see his face. He appeared to be about 30 years old. And as quickly as he connected to me, he looked away and continued to walk in the circle. I then woke up and the dream ended. That dream stays with me and still does. And I could remember every detail of that dream as if I was still there. I know that many of you had dreams that you can remember in detail, and you try to figure out what happened. For me, that night, I can remember saying a simple prayer for them. And then I went back to sleep. The next day, I went about my normal routine. I woke up. I went out in my garage and put my suit on. I can't keep my suits in the house with 2 cats. I'm covered in cat hair. And I went to work and began my normal routine. I was drawn to the computer where I'll sit down and read the paper from the computer and see what's going on in the news. And as I was scanning several articles, as a funeral director, I always read the obituaries. When I looked at the obituaries that day, I was stunned, because there in the obituaries was the face of the young man I had seen in my dream. A young man who had died just 2 days before. And as I looked at his face, I was suddenly drawn back to that chapel in my dream. And I watched as he looked at me again. I saw myself saying that prayer for him, and I watched as a silver ribbon of light left me and went to him. He then turned from me and paused for a moment and began walking in a straight line towards a bright light which appeared now to both of us. He walked into the light, and I could feel a sense of peacefulness as he crossed through the veil to the other side. I then remembered the dream in my dream, I remembered the prayer that I had said to him in that moment. I hope you find the peace that you desire. It is waiting for you in the light. At that moment of remembrance, I watched as a silver ribbon of light returned to me from the other side of the tunnel. I have to say it again. My prayers are powerful. As a funeral director for the past 40 years, I have had other experiences similar to this with people crossing over, but never one so focused on our prayers. I will continue to pray for those who have left this realm, and I will now have a better understanding of how each one of them, as they transition, are in need of our loving thoughts and prayers and understanding to help them find their way home. In closing today, I'm going to ask each of you just to sit quietly in your seats and close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. Breathe it in and breathe it out. Take another one as you become focused. Now, on your last breath, say a simple prayer. Now, visualize that prayer going out to the person, place, or condition that you have prayed for. Watch that prayer leave your body. It may appear as a ribbon of light as it gracefully flows from you and travels across the universe, arriving exactly where you have sent it. As the prayer is received, know that the Creator is a part of this, as you are truly one co-creating what you have prayed for. You may see other prayers traveling from place to place, as we are all a part of this circle of life. Now feel the peace that comes from sharing your love with this beautiful intention. In this peace comes an understanding of your true purpose in life. Your purpose is to love one another and to love yourself. Stay in this moment and simply allow yourself to be free and open to sharing. I will leave you for a moment to enjoy the silence. In the silence, you may receive a message as your prayer manifests in ways we may not completely understand. Stay in the silence. In your silence, observe a ribbon of light as it returns to you, completing the circle that your prayer has traveled. May this light bless you and bring you peace. Now open your eyes and look around this room and share the peace and share the love that you are. Thank you.